hello, and welcome to the grand finale. I'm so excited to be here, joined by this amazing cast. We have Hugh Bonneville, we have the beautiful and divine Joanne Froggatt, and we have Mr. Alan Leech. Thank you guys for joining us here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Joanne, you said that you really feel like this was a love letter to the fans, the grand finale. So just elaborate a little bit on that, because when I watched it, it was bittersweet, and I still want more.
Oh, that's lovely. But I think, it is very emotional, the end of the movie, because it's the end. And the first time I saw it was with some of my cast members in a screening. He was there. And I was in bits. I didn't expect to cry as much as I did. But I do keep saying I felt like they were happy tears. And also, for me, it was obviously wrapped up in all our personal experiences of playing these characters and being together as a team for that 15 years as well. And that coming to its natural end. But I think the ending is very hopeful. I think there's a sort of a ... for every character. Mm-hmm. And you can see and make your own choices as a viewer what you may want that to be. It's almost like you get to write the endings yourself.
I think the world of fan fiction will have a field day.
Absolutely. Yeah,
definitely. And also because we can connect it to what we actually know went down in history, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's 1930. So it's after World War I. But we've got World War II right on the doorstep. So I think you're right. Fan fiction will have a time with this. Speaking of the fans, Alan, Tom was a fan favorite, baby.
Especially here in America.
America, because we appreciated the outsider vantage point that you had.
I think that I was lucky enough not only to start with the staff downstairs and then through circumstances ended up sitting in white tie and tails at the dinner table. But I think it is that Tom, like a lot of the audience, unless you're from Great Britain, Tom's sitting there going, what the hell is going on? And I think a lot of the time the audience were feeling the same.
Or if you are from Great Britain, sometimes you're still...
Exactly.
Yeah, but he was, and I think he became a bit of a tour guide for the audience. Mm-hmm. He can take you anywhere in the house. Yeah. And he was also experiencing this world for the first time too. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why people also jumped onto Tom.
Yeah.
And also he did it for love.
Yes, yeah. He did it for love.
We love that.
He did it for love. And there's so much passion that we get from Tom, and something that we don't normally see from the very grand,
very
the
reserved,
upper crust, reserved. Yeah. Speaking of reserved and upper crust, Mr. Grantham, you really connected with the audience as the patriarch. Mm-hmm. And you really guided us in such a way, I think, because you were stern, but there was always right there this little lovely heart that was just underneath it all, this steely exterior of yours. And you've also had to deal with the changes of the world, and it's all been on your shoulders.
Well, I think you've got to bear in mind that this character, people like him, were born into this role of their one purpose in life was to manage this estate, in his case, manage the situation and pass it on in as good a condition to the next generation. And as for his sort of compassionate side, I remember asking Julian Fellows, who wrote and created the show, what made Robert Crawley tick, and he said, well, it's largely based on my father, and I loved my father. Mm. So he gives him a generosity of spirit from the get-go. Yeah. Even though he does have to, apparently wear the suit of armor to bear the slings and arrows of the fortune that is thrown down on the estate over the years. But he's a decent guy underneath it all, even though he's a pompous old ass.
Yes, he's a pompous old ass. And he also is very reluctant to let go. You keep promising that Lady Mary is going to run the ship, and she is going to have her own autonomy, and she will have agency over everything, and you keep coming back and butting in.
Yes, well, it keeps the storyline alive. I think, we've been talking about it for about 10 years, roughly, in screen terms. And then finally, in this iteration, the time has come. But even then, you know, with scandal over the family and over Lady Mary's name, will she be able to function in society? Maybe, you know, Lord Grantham should stay on a little longer. But no, the time has come, and that's very much the theme of the whole film. Really, it's about the passing on to the next generation in every form, both upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah, and the evolution of upstairs and downstairs, because we see now that gone are going to be the days of having these grand staffs, you know, and that's something that everyone has to deal with, including the staff, because that means, guess what? You might be out of work because people no longer can afford to maintain these grand homes. And we see that now, because now when we go to the UK, we can go on tours in these great homes because they're open to the public, and you just have to pay to get in. People don't actually live in them anymore as much.
Not in the same way. You think back to season 1, something's just popped into my head. There's a scene where Matthew Crawley is the heir who's brought into the family, who wants to dismiss Molesley because he finds the notion of having a valet completely odd and anathema to his upbringing. And Lord Grantham takes him aside and says, everyone has their role to play in this society, and you dismiss it at your peril. You know, give them the dignity they deserve. And of course, that really has changed by the time we say farewell in 1930, where the houses, these big houses, are diminishing in size for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, well, many reasons. And you mentioned the divorce of Lady Mary, which is a scandal. And of course, anytime she's involved in a scandal, who has to come to her aid?
Her right-hand woman.
Her right-hand woman, Mrs. Bates. And this storyline is really very powerful. And I think that it will resonate deeply with so many women, especially in the times that we're living in right now. You know, Lady Mary is, of course, in trouble, distressed, and who has to come to her aid. But this time around, what I think is that Anna really does assert herself more. Like, I got your back, but let's, you know, this time around, like, you kind of got to listen to me.
Yeah, I think Anna always has Lady Mary's back. You know, from season 1, carrying poor Mr. Bamook across a landing. That was, that was certainly testing Anna's loyalty, to say the least. But, you know, I think Anna and Mary have a great respect for one another, and they're both very modern women in the setting they're in. You know, Anna's a working mother. Lady Mary's about to take over Downton as a female heiress. But yeah, obviously the sort of main arc of this film is that Lady Mary's character is getting divorced and how that makes her a social pariah. And there's lots of lines in the film which were true and right to the times, which I, as a woman, find incredibly shocking.
But Joanne, you know that the writing is on the wall. We're actually going back to that time.
Isn't it terrifying? And this is what terrifies me, because there's a line, I think Bertie says, well, remember, my mother wouldn't have a divorced woman in the house. It doesn't mention a divorced man. It's just the woman. It doesn't matter what the circumstances of the divorce are, you know, and it's shocking. And that is, like, 1930 isn't that long ago. And like you say, you know, sadly and terrifyingly, instead of moving further and further and further away from those opinions, we seem to be somehow shifting a little bit closer towards them, or certain areas of society are. But so I think it's a reminder for me, certainly, and hopefully a reminder for all of us that, you know, we've come a long way with equality. Let's keep it going. Yeah.
And there's also a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
You know, even when we think about classism, you know, there's of course, there's a real hierarchy here.
Yeah.
And in America, of course, we had this pretend notion that we did not have a hierarchy. But now that veil has been pulled back and lifted, and we see that there's a real hierarchy. And so, Alan, as you mentioned, you're a big favorite here in America. When you are out in the world, how do people receive Tom, and have you noticed a shift?
I think Tom has always been very progressive, and within the show he was always
a socialist.
But a socialist.
And nowadays that's a bad word.
Yeah. But I think socialism was definitely part of his ethos. I think that something that I always held on to play Tom was the line, "I don't believe in types, I believe in people." I think if we could do more of that in society, we'd be doing very well.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that. You know what? One of the things I found fascinating about you is that you were only supposed to be on for 3 episodes.
3 episodes, and I
And
managed
15
to
years
stretch
later.
it out to 6 seasons, 3
didn't know
movies,
that
and
until
my
today.
directorial debut of Anna Bates Investigates, which is the spin-off show for Joe Fro here,
Right.
and and Anna Bates Facilitates, which is what she does in this movie. Yeah.
But what has that meant to you now when you look back? Because it's 15 years, and there's supposed to be 3 episodes, which
Yeah.
meant like a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months.
Yeah.
And it's been 15 years now.
It's been astounding. It's been incredible, and it's been one of the greatest adventures of my life and my career.
Yeah.
And it has afforded me so many opportunities. Its success, and also everyone keeps saying like, "What's your favorite memory of 15 years?" I can't pick one, but I can really look back and enjoy and be so thankful and grateful for the adventure that we've gone on, the success that we've watched it grow from one season when we all said goodbye to each other. We thought we'll see on the next one, whatever job that might be.
Right.
And then here we are 15 years later, and tonight will be the final time that we actually do say goodbye to each other.
Yeah.
And it's just been amazing and wonderful and humbling. And I'll never forget Leslie Nichol, who plays Mrs. Patmore. As it started to gain such notoriety and success around the world, she said, "Enjoy this. This doesn't always happen." And I think we've all taken that on board, and we've all been very aware of the fact that we were part of something very special, very unique. And even Julian Fellows, the writer and creator, who said, like, if I knew how I did it, I'd bottle it and sell it. So,
Well, he has bottled it and sold it to us as the Gilded Age, and
yeah.
we're very
Yes.
happy about that,
It's
right?
doing quite well.
You know, finally the Americans get to have their say, which we're going to talk about because you guys do.
they're on to him.
Yes,
Yeah.
you guys do the Americans dirty in this film. We are not shown in the best light. Hugh.
Oh, that's not entirely fair.
Well,
you have the lovely
really?
Paul Giamatti coming back, and Alessandra Nivola, who pops up as well as his travelling companion.
Yes.
Um,
Paul
and-
Giamatti.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti, yeah, exactly, who plays Lady Cora's brother. And he, of course, was in the TV show in a few episodes. And so it's wonderful to have him back.
Yeah.
He's great fun. And but there's always been this affectionate dig, between Cora's world and the world of the British aristocracy, and how crazy she finds it, and how you just keep thinking of Maggie's lines, why does every day have to start with an argument with an American or something like that? But it's always with great affection, let's face it, hands across the sea.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's very much like it's the snobbery, isn't it? That's sort of funny, isn't it? That it's the kind of the same as the downstairs characters. It's the, oh goodness gracious, it's something different. And also, what's great is that the Americans are the forward thinkers in this.
That's
and as
right.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti's character says, divorce is shunned here, Lady Mary. But if you come to America, we're okay with it.
Yeah,
We've moved
exactly.
on. We're progressive.
Right.
It's worth remembering, and I remember discussing this with Julian quite early on about the fact that Lady Mary gets basically thrown out of a society ball because she's divorced and a member of the royal family is about to arrive, and finding that really hard to get one's head around. And but then of course you just remember we lost a king because he was going to marry a divorcee.
Yeah.
So it's
divorcee
think
from
how
America.
Much, yeah, exactly, from America. You see, it's always down
always
to
them
America.
damn
Always comes down
Americans.
to the Americans.
The damn Yankees.
But as Joanne was saying, it shows you how much has changed and how much we have matured, if you like. And we, and yet, that's only a generation ago. It's so interesting.
What was also interesting to me, I did a little research. I found out that you actually hosted King Charles's coronation concert.
Oh, that was very naive of me. I got this call from the BBC saying there's going to be a concert in the back garden at Windsor Castle the day after the coronation. So in my mind, there was a sort of chamber quartet and a few members of the royal family. It turned out to be this sort of global event,
Right,
with 20,000 people there. I was a bit overwhelmed, I must say. I was just the link guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, did you happen to find out who's a fan of Downton Abbey and the royal family? Like, come on, name names.
Well, we did actually. Sophie Wessex came on set a couple of times incognito and just sort of hung around. She just enjoyed watching it, and then the Princess of Wales came on a visit during our final season of the TV show. So that was a great privilege. And we have heard rumours that a couple of them like putting up their feet on a
Checking
Sunday
it
night.
out, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Elizabeth McGovern think that
Oh, God,
Sophie
yes.
Wessex Was
I could
part of
see-
the production team or something.
Yes, I could see her. We weren't at the castle. We were away on a location, and that was one of the days that she Countess of Wessex,
Countess of Wessex,
Countess of Wessex came to visit, and we all knew where she was, and I could see Elizabeth has this look on her face when she sees someone coming who she thinks she knows, and I sort of recognise it when you see it in a supermarket or something, and people get that look in their eye of we've met somewhere, haven't we? And I thought, oh no, I could see this car crash coming, and as she said, did we meet at dinner? So I said, no, this is the Countess of Wessex.
Oh.
The one on the stamps, or nearly on the stamps.
Nearly on the stamps.
Alan, Tom has always been kind of a bit of the underdog, and he's come up through the ranks.
Yeah.
But with the grand finale, it's so lovely to see him be the potential savior of the entire family's fortune. And
Yeah.
actually, you do save the family.
Well, he's done it a couple of times.
Yeah.
I mean, he stopped an assassination on a king, which meant
Right.
I nearly couldn't go back to Ireland. In the second movie, he helps the transition to get a very nice villa in the south of France, not too shabby for Branson. And in this movie, as you said, I feel his story comes full circle, that he can offer the family something that they offered him. Throughout the series and throughout the other movies. And I felt that Tom finally knows where he is now. He was always an outsider, and in this movie I think he's finally not. That he is finally part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anna, you also have an amazing transition because you're firmly a wife and mother devoted. And you were actually very pregnant during the filming.
I
yes?
was very pregnant, so I had a little say in my own story, in Anna's storyline for this film, because I obviously had to let the creative team know at a certain point that I was going to be growing quite large during filming. And did they think it was a good idea to make Anna pregnant? And we all agreed that would actually be a lovely, fitting ending for Anna and Bates and their family. So it was an incredible full circle moment, professionally and personally, for me. I'd always had a thought, I wonder if I'll ever be pregnant while filming Downton. It'd be really lovely to be pregnant while doing this job that's been such a big part of my life and that we're such a sort of family on. And the final scene of the whole shoot was obviously my final scene as well, and it was Anna holding her newborn baby. So I was 38 weeks pregnant, holding this 8-week-old baby, looking at it, feeling completely overwhelmed and sort of all felt very surreal and going, oh my days, I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have a baby. It's like, wow, like any minute it could be happening now. It could be happening in 10 minutes.
Right. It's a rehearsal, a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly.
To
This
the
is
nth
wow,
degree,
what a
right?
rehearsal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what a way to finish. Like, it was so bizarre and wonderful and magical to finish as my last scene as that. It just felt like it was completely meant to be, and everyone was sort of offset waiting for the final cut, and it was just beautiful. Honestly, I couldn't have dreamt for a more beautiful ending.
Yeah. Speaking of the ending, one of the things that made me and my producer Shakira cry was dang Maggie, and just seeing her. I mean, I'm welling up now because she let us see the humanity of these people that as Americans we always thought of as very snobby and very, aloof and all of that. But y'all just chipped away at her constantly every single season. And till the final part, we knew what a big heart she had. We knew that everything she did was for her family. Mm-hmm. And it was so beautiful. And the way you guys paid tribute to her, of course, in the film, but now even in this film. So let's just talk a little bit about the emotion that was on the set when the picture is shown, or just even the specter of knowing that she should be there. She should be there with her quips and her, her sass and her attitude and all.
Well, I think we went into the third film. She was, still with us then, but her character had passed on in the second film. So the spirit of the Dowager very much hangs over the third film. She's referred to a lot. Her lines are quoted and that sort of thing. And there's even the line about one of her antagonists in this third film talks about her being rather a sentimental woman, which, of course, you don't think of that at all. But you're absolutely right. The heart of the woman, of the character, and indeed the actress, shines through. And is there explicitly at the end of the movie, and she passed away 2 or 3 months after we finished filming. She was the beating heart of if the castle was the real lead character, she was its beating heart.
Yeah. Joanne?
Yeah, I mean, very much like her character Violet. Maggie was a force to be reckoned with, but she had a big heart. Obviously, I didn't work as closely with Maggie on Downton as say Michelle and Laura and Jess in the early days, but she loved the girls like they were her grandchildren.
Yeah.
And she was always so supportive of me. I did a wonderful play at the Bridge Theatre a couple of years after we finished shooting Downton, or a few years after we finished. And Maggie was doing a one-woman show. She was the show before my show started, and working with a fantastic director, Sir Nicholas Heitner, who's Maggie had worked with many, many times. And she was just so supportive. Nick would say to me, Maggie's been checking in, see how you're doing. And I keep telling her, you're doing brilliantly, you're fantastic. She was like, but she wants to know if you... And I was like, yeah. And then I went to see Maggie's show and went to see her backstage afterwards. And I said, how are you doing, Maggie? It's incredible. She went, I'm terrified, darling. She said another word as well that I won't repeat. But
well, you know what? This is SiriusXM, the house of Howard Stern built, so you can actually say any kind of bad words that you want to say. Yeah.
Okay, well, she dropped me the F-bomb and said she was effing terrified. But she was like, no, but she was so wonderful and supportive, and she just gave me so many lovely moments of sort of advice and, kindness, really. Just that kind of giving me it was almost like she gave you a thumbs up to kind of go and do great,
Tom, I wanted to ask you about the patriarch here that we have, Hugh.
Yeah.
Because you were probably the most well-known actor when the show started.
I'd been around the block a bit.
You've been around the block a bit.
Even then.
Yes. And you, of course, were very young in your career. Mm-hmm. And what was it like for you working with Hugh as one of your first big opportunities? And what has it been like now, having these last moments with him?
Yeah, I mean, the way you said that, it sounds like you're about to die. I don't think you are.
Well, we don't want
Quickly,
him to
someone
die,
check his pulse.
We do want to make him cry here, so we want to give you your praise. We want to give you your flowers while you can still receive them.
My very first scene that I shot on Downton was when Lord Grantham meets the new chauffeur, Tom Branson. And from that day to finishing, I'm actually going to get emotional, but he has been a true friend, but also I've learned so much from you. I really have.
Well, likewise.
Wow. And likewise?
Yeah. Alan's the one who reads the room very, very quickly and knows when to perk it up, particularly with Maggie, for instance, because Maggie was very tough on herself, and there would be days when you'd get a cross Maggie and sometimes you'd get a flying Maggie. And he was very quick at reading the room and knowing when to be the court jester and when to step back. And, really, I learned a lot from you for that, for your emotional intelligence, if you like, which I don't have.
No, but he has. He's been incredible, and one of the greatest technicians on screen.
I'm great with a screwdriver.
And no, you're useless at DIY because you made me build a bookcase in your house. But you genuinely are one of the most masterful technicians on film and TV as an actor. So I'm indebted to you here. Yeah. And now that I'm over the emotion, I'll make fun of you now.
Okay, that's good.
No, but genuinely, and you know what? That's what I'll miss. And the reason I'm emotional, obviously, we're so proud of what we did with the show, but this is kind of like saying goodbye to your family, live, which is very strange, and it feels very, very odd. We've always had the possibility of another movie or another opportunity to hang out, but this is the last time, and it feels very final. And we keep saying to each other we're going to stay in touch, and that almost makes you more emotional because you're like, of course we are, but naturally, people do get on with their own lives, selfishly have children. People, you really do hope that you'll be able to stay as close as we've had, but even if we can't, these 15 years have been truly magical.
I love that. Joanne, do you have anything you want to say to you?
No, joking.
No,
See,
because-
that's the relationship we have. No, I mean, Alan said it all really. You know, it was when I was casting the show. Obviously, Dame Maggie was attached. Julian had written it, so it's 3 Oscars attached. And I remember my agent saying, "And Hugh Bonneville's going to play the lead." I said, "Oh, that sounds very lovely. That sounds very classy." I was like, "Yes, please. This sounds incredible." And Hugh from the start was just warm and welcoming, and has a big heart. He likes to have a giggle. He takes the work very seriously, and he's brilliant at it, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. And as a younger actor coming in, obviously you look up to the more experienced people that you're working with, and rightly so. And it's wonderful when those people kind of welcome you with open arms and give you a little wink and have a little giggle and make you feel comfortable. Yeah.
I'm very touched by that, but the reason that we were all contracted for a maximum of 3 years, and we did 6 TV years and then 3 movies, and that's only because we all got on well. We wouldn't be here now if we'd all been throwing chairs at each other. So I think a real testament, actually, apart from to Julian Fellowes, who created it, and our 2 really real mainstream producers, is to the casting director, because she really created. When I first read it, none of it was cast, to the extent that I remember saying on my first meeting with Julian Fellowes and Gareth Niemont, producer, I said, "By the way, who are you approaching to play Violet, the Dowager?" And he said, "Well, we're hoping to get Maggie Smith." And I said, "Well, good luck with that. She's not going to do it, is she?" And so when I first read it, all these characters were so vivid. Not every script, I think you'd agree with me. You can sometimes, the characters can be interchangeable, but these all spoke with a distinctive voice, so that you could cast it like reading a novel. You cast it in your head, and then it became even more rich when the casting was announced bit by bit of who was playing who. And so I think Jill Trevelyan, our casting director, really assembled or placed before Julian and the other creative directors this fantastic ensemble from the start. So we were blessed with a sort of family from the start, which the audience responded to. And I think that warmth that underlies Julian's writing is there in each of these people that we've all had the privilege of working with.
I saw Jill at our London premiere, actually, at the after party, and I said to her, we had a nice chat, and because we didn't all get to see each other, did we? It was all sort of lots of people. But I said to her, I was like, I don't know if I've ever had the opportunity to say, Jill, thank you so much for changing my life 15 years ago. It's been such an amazing, magical ride that we've all been on together.
A magical ride for you, too, because you also won a Golden Globe as the Best Supporting Actress in 2014.
Yes.
Which is a really big deal, and it certainly changes someone's career.
It was it was probably one of the biggest shocks of my life, I think. I actually started clapping when they announced my name, because it didn't register that it was my name. And then I was like, it was like a cartoon moment. It was like it dawned on me, the words kind of, and I just thought, I've got to go to the stage. Just walk to the stage. And it was a huge surprise, and wow, I mean, it really was a pinch me moment. That saying, it was so incredible and so surreal, and so just so grateful and thankful for that award and for the experience and for the platform to be able to stand and say what I was able to say. And it really was a pinch me moment. I came off stage and I was almost like, did that really happen? Did it really happen? It was absolutely, a pivotal point in my career and my life. It was, something I'm so proud of. Yeah,
and you all have benefited with your career from doing Downton. You're far more well known, especially here in America, and of course, much to the chagrin of too many American actors. I know you guys are very well aware of that, right? That they're not so happy about the Brits to come over and take American gigs, which you guys have all done. So I mean,
hopefully they'll forgive us.
Yeah, huh?
Hopefully they'll forgive us.
I don't think they will.
There's a lot of Americans in London and Ireland taking jobs as well. But you're not taking jobs off anyone. Isn't it great that we are working?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. I hope you mentioned that to Jill Trevelyan, that we're all currently, available if she has any other job.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to touch a little bit on this film and the know-how of it all, and also I'm drawing a blank. I forget the name of
Guy
the Dominic plays.
Guy Dexter.
Guy
Guy
Dexter, who's
yes.
a silent movie star, has
Yes.
reclaimed his
Yes.
role on stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just love that storyline because Barrow, of course, gets to come back triumphant and gets to walk through the, well, he initially goes through the servants' quarters, but then he's on the, he's actually gets to attend upstairs one of the cocktail receptions and things like that. And that was really quite lovely. What are some scenes like that stick out for you that you think that will delight the audience? Because I think that that's going to make folks really happy to see this formerly, he's still closeted, but this gay man gets to have a full life.
I think the way that Julian he always writes, as I said earlier, with such compassion about human frailties, human, problems and people's place in society and the social mores. And to have Barrow, who in the first season was denoted as the baddie because he sat out the back of the house having a cigarette, so if he's smoking he must be a bad guy, him and Miss O'Brien, for this full journey to see him actually at peace with who he is in a world in which homosexuality was illegal and an imprisonable offence, and yet this sense of fulfilment and that the family eventually, well, Lord Grantham was a bit blind to what's going on, but thinks they're just nice, good chums. And
What's that line you have? They're very
hearty together, aren't
Yes,
they?
yes.
I suppose it's all the travelling they do.
Yes,
because
that's in this film.
in the film, because Thomas the footman has gone off to become Guy Dexter's dresser. Guy Dexter being the character in the second movie.
Makes things very nice. He gets to dress him, wink, wink. Right?
And then, as you say, what's lovely, the sort of social observation of Barrow then returning, a bit like Tom Branson's character did, suddenly going through the green baize door, as it were, and coming into the other side of the family, of the social experience is quite interesting, and it's a real thumbs up. I think that whole arc for Rob James Collier, who played Thomas, has been utterly gorgeous to watch, and it's been handled so deftly. Yeah.
For you, Joanne, is there a particular scene that you think really kind of sums up the wonderful trajectory of this family, both upstairs and downstairs?
Yes. So I can't explain the scene properly because it would be a spoiler, but the ending. I'll say the ending. And when people watch the film, they'll know exactly what I mean by that. The ending really encapsulates where we started to where we're letting go. And it's a reminder of characters present, past, current, and possibly what may be in the future. And it's just beautiful. I think it's just a beautiful goodbye, and as I say, sort of beautiful love letter to the last 15 years. Yeah.
Alan, what about you?
One of the most poignant moments for me happens towards the end of the movie, but we've all seen it so many times. It's when the staff line up to say goodbye, be it to a dignitary or a guest, but this time it's to someone even more important. And that sense of both worlds coming together, the servants and the family. And essentially in that, I think it starts off what Joe Fro was saying, that brings in the end of the movie. But in that last time of all standing guard in a way to say thank you to Lord Grantham and Lady Grantham is, I think, something that's very poignant for me. And I remember it was the last thing I filmed on the show.
Wow.
And it just had a great resonance, and I think it will for the fans as well, because it's almost the last guard of honour of that time as well. Yeah.
People, actors talk about period pieces being notoriously tough, especially when it comes to wardrobe. And certainly you guys had a lot of wardrobe to deal with. Is that one of the things that you won't miss about being about Downton Abbey?
I was quite relieved when the era of the white tie mixed into the world of the black tie tuxedo, because the collars were less stiff and painful. But for the girls particularly, I mean, I know I think Joe had about two costumes in 10 years, and you were pretty much...
Well, I mean, it was great because obviously to start with we were in corsets.
That's what I was going to say.
Silhouettes of
and they're tough.
I mean, Anna used to have a a black dress and a green dress, and then 2 black dresses. So it was. So I did get a new one most seasons, but basically, can anyone tell the difference? No, we knew the difference.
Right.
But it meant I could have 2 costume fittings at the beginning of the season, and that was me done. And mine was made out of fabric that was modern fabric, obviously made in the period style, so I could sit down, it wouldn't crease, I could have a cheeky little afternoon nap if I was hanging around for 5 hours in between scenes, and I'd just pop out of my trailer looking exactly the same, whereas Michelle, Elizabeth, Laura, all the other female characters, the upstairs characters, especially early on, they were in very intricate, often original material dresses that had original lace. It's extremely delicate and fragile, and they had to be put in and taken out of their costumes, and everything had to be very, very much protected, and they had a lot more costume fittings than we did.
Certainly.
Yeah.
But corsets are not fun. We complain about Spanx, but corsets, forget about it.
Oh yeah, corsets are, I remember, and obviously you do the thing on the first day of go do it really tight, so I look like I've got really lovely tiny waist, and then that lasts for about 10 minutes because you think I'm going to pass out as soon as you have a cup of coffee, and you can't eat anything, and you're like no, make it as loose as possible, as loose as possible.
Which is why they used to have smelling salts and like fainting.
Well, that's why ladies
right?
used to faint all the time, because
Yeah.
they were in corsets.
Yeah.
It's not because we're this sort of weak humans. It's because we were trussed up in these corsets and we couldn't breathe. So, yeah. I think a man invented them.
Probably.
I think I'm right. I think he did.
Yeah.
I love how the costumes have told a story and been a commentary on the time as well. If you look at the transition,
Yes.
especially what the female characters upstairs have gone through in relation to corsets. Obviously, in the last 2 seasons, myself and Hugh got them. We got them. Joke, obviously we didn't. But I do love how the costumes have been a commentary on what society was doing, and I love what Anna Robbins has done in this. I mean, they're even more opulent and decadent and beautiful,
Yeah.
and we're still.
And
in
now
our-
you get to see the ladies' ankles and
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
So,
I do have to give a
so
shout.
risque. The
Basically
ankle.
foreplay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Downton foreplay.
Yes,
You see an ankle.
yes, very dangerous stuff.
I do have to give a shout out to Anna Robbins, our incredible costume designer, who's been with us for many years now. And her attention to detail is incredible. So for me, on this film, this was the most costume fittings I had because I was pregnant, so my bump was growing, but we had to keep the bump the same size for continuity for the film. So I had a bump on top of my bump to start with, and then as my real bump grew, the pretend bump gradually disappeared.
Wow.
So I had to have so many different fittings, and my dress had to be altered constantly. And Anna was such a the craftsmanship that went into it was just so incredible. It blew my mind. It was just, every seam could be extended or moved, and if you change this part of the dress as my bump grows, it has an effect on a different part of the dress, and it's engineering.
Yeah.
And she does.
It is.
And she's just so talented. Yeah.
Certainly.
And just to pick up on that, there's a bit of an advert for you too can own one of the Downton costumes, because there's an auction taking place in London next week. It's online with Bonham's The Auctioneers. So if you just look up Bonham's Downton Abbey, and the money raised is going to a wonderful charity called Together for Short Lives, for children with life-limiting illnesses and so forth. Anyway, I went to view it the other day. The exhibition is on in London, but as I say, it's actually taking place online, and there's over 150 pieces of memorabilia and costumes,
And all directly from your set.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You can have the bells. They're
Are
selling
you
the bells.
serious?
Yeah, the bells are currently at £18,000.
Well, yeah.
There's the
Baby.
car.
Absolutely giving them away.
Such a bargain.
There's Lady Mary's wedding dress is currently £5,000.
Oh, that's
That
a
is
steal.
a steal.
That's
That
a
is a
steal.
steal.
That's a steal.
There's
It
a
will not
car.
go for $5,000.
There's one of Branson's cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but it's wonderful. I went to visit it the other day, and just to pick up on what Joe was saying, the detail, when you see so many of the women's costumes together, the detail in each one is phenomenal. And luckily the cameras are so good that in this on the big screen you will see all that detail, and it's mesmerizing and beautiful. And I genuinely hope that Anna gets recognised for her work finally, because she has lifted. She joined us in season 5 of the TV show, and each year she's lifted the bar each time, wouldn't you say? And she's a remarkable designer. Anyway, and you can get you can buy the letters, all the letters that we read on set, which are all so accurate pertinent to the scene that we're in, that the audience never sees. The menu cards on the table are all written up, and that's the food we're actually being presented with.
Wow.
The detail. I think that's one of the reasons that the show did survive so well was because the attention to detail and the aspiration to authenticity was paramount for each department.
There was never going to be a Starbucks coffee or cup on the table, right?
We did manage a bottle of water in one still.
Darn it.
There was a still of me and Laura standing by the mantelpiece, and someone spotted that there was a water, but we twisted that on its head the next day by suddenly doing an advert for WaterAid, which was quite a good
good way to get around it. Yeah.
I love that. Off with their heads, right?
Yeah, quite.
Now we have time for audience questions, and we have Cynthia Gonzalez. Am I going to read Cynthia's question? Okay.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
So my question was, if you could talk to your Downton Abbey character in a real-life Back to the Future moment, what would you tell them, advise them, warn them about 2025?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good
I think I'd have to
question.
tell Tom Branson to lie down before I chatted to him. Wow, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I'd say to Anna, you're going to have to change the name of your and Bates's motel.
Exactly.
Nice.
Little psycho there.
I think I'd say the world will probably terrify you, Lord Grantham, but the voice of compassion and balance will be more needed than ever.
Lovely.
Oh, I'm just keeping Tom Branson lying down.
Let's lay down, right? Okay. Thank you so much for that. Okay, next up we have Pete Romano.
So, quick funny story. Joe, we sat next to each other once on a flight from LA to New York about 9 years ago.
I thought as soon as you took the mic, I was like, I know you. I was like, do I know you from somewhere?
It was absolutely thrilling for me. We covered a lot, but the best part was talking about 1980s music. Anyway, it's wonderful to see you and
You
all
too.
of you. Yeah. So my question is, Downton Abbey spans so many years and eras. How did you keep your character's growth authentic while still being true to the periods, all the different periods you're covering?
I think, well, if you think back to the first iteration started in 1912 with the sinking of the Titanic, and then we go out just after the Wall Street crash. So, that's a decent span of, if we look back on that era. And, in that time, the invention or the popularity of the telephone, of the wireless, of the refrigerator, of the
Lights.
The electric whisk,
Right.
things like that, that changed society. Again, we look back on and think, the things that we take for granted were revolutionary, and the equivalent of AI, threatening everybody's lives, but actually, they probably improved one's lot. So I think the one consistent thing was an artistic decision that the men would never put their hands in their pockets on set, and that the women would never cross their legs. So that was a consistent thing. But I think otherwise, the loosening of the corsets was a huge, as Alan was saying, the way that the costume designs actually reflect the era and the loosening of, well, some would say values, as the corsets loosened, was fascinating. And everything, all the societal, shifts and ebbs and flows, be it the scandal of divorce or the way that Thomas's character was regarded. So I think it's all, the obvious thing is, if it's not in the script, you can't play it. But the underlying tone of this family this household that gradually shifts at a sort of glacial pace. I think that was the thing, not to be too radical, never too radical, but gradually acknowledge the change and adapt with it.
Yeah. Tom was the only one who got to be radical.
Exactly. He was the one who's always ready for change.
I think also on that note, I remember someone asking Julian Fellows quite early on, I'd love to know what happens to my character. And he said, why? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow to you. And,
True.
and so you kind of have to play what's coming out as it comes out and as you learn. And when we got the scripts, the great joy was also the challenge of looking at it and puzzling and going, how am I going to play this?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, did you guys have any opportunity to be a little collaborative? Were you able to make little notes? I know you said, well, listen, I'm pregnant, so maybe Anna should be pregnant.
Yeah, that one was, they had to work with that one for sure. But,
Yeah.
Some jobs are very collaborative or fluid, should I say. All jobs are collaborative, but some are more fluid in terms of the words you say. Sometimes the script can be changed around slightly or manipulated, or you can make it your own a little bit. But actually with Downton, it wasn't that. We very much were word for word what Julian wrote. I think it was very rare that over the course of the seasons there was a storyline that sort of didn't quite fit or something. But if there was anything that we needed to sort of suggest or say, we were absolutely completely listened to, and it was all for the good of the show. But it was very rare that happened, and basically, we spoke Julian's words word for word. Yeah.
I did on this movie. I walked away from doing a scene, and it was one of the last days we had in Highclere, and I had a thought, and I won't say what it is. It's in the movie, but it was a line.
Is it in the movie?
It's in the movie.
Oh, okay.
But I went to Liz Trubridge the next day, who's one of our wonderful producers, and has been there from the very start, and a great champion and a great sounding board for us as a cast. And I went, I think we missed a trick, and I think I should say this thing. And she turned and she went, oh, for fuck's sake, Alan, why didn't you say this yesterday? Because we had to go back and do another day's filming back at Highclere.
What?
Because she said, you are absolutely right, we need to have that moment. And it was to recognise my late wife in it. And I say in the movie, I said, Sybil would be so proud of you. And that was what I said. I think that I need to say that. And she was like, you're right, we do. And
I know that scene. It's really poignant.
Why didn't you think of this yesterday?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I'm glad.
But I'm glad they went back.
Yeah, I'm glad.
But that's what I mean. Because it was
beautiful.
always about the story. So even though I obviously was late coming up with my great idea, the fact that they were like, you're absolutely right, we need that. And we went back and did it,
It's so great. That's a luxury too, on most sets, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
To be
Garrett
able to do
Neame, the
that.
executive producer, would say it wasn't a luxury, it cost a fortune. But he said, it was important, and we went and did it, yeah.
So you were able to do it. Last question from the audience. It's from Ellie Coffey.
Was there a particular scene or storyline that felt the most personal or emotional for you to perform? Something that really stayed with you after filming?
The one that's popped into my head actually was the storyline when Sybil died, because I adore Elizabeth McGovern, who it's my third time playing her screen husband, and third time lucky, I guess. And we have a great rapport, and we tease each other a lot, mainly about our dancing prowess. So whenever we have a dancing scene, we are competitive with everybody else and go up to the choreographer, Diana, who's always choreographed our dance sequences, and said, have we got gold? Have we won gold? So Elizabeth and I refer to each other as gold. But the writing of about grief and about loss and about family tension when in this case a child is lost, which is the most unbearable pain for any family. The writing was so sensitively done, not only about the woe, but also the anger and the frustration and all that, and the blame that can go around. And I thought the charting of that sequence, just on a character level for myself and Elizabeth, was so beautifully etched, and I thought she was astonishing. There's one scene with Dr. Clarkson where it tries to be reconciled about this agony they're going through, and Elizabeth's performance in that sequence was mind-blowing, and it's always stayed with me.
Yeah, it's really beautiful work.
For me, it would be the storyline of season 4 when Anna is sexually assaulted. Again, it was a huge responsibility as an actor to sort of take that on, and I was very grateful for that I was trusted with that, and it was huge and incredibly meaningful, and it was I remember a strange day on set, because the day we were shooting those scenes, there was such a respect, and there always is from our crew who are fantastic, but there was such a respect and such a silence everywhere. The mood shifted as soon as we walked on set that day, and it helped me get to the emotional places I needed to get to play those scenes, and I wanted it, obviously, as we always do, to be as truthful as possible. But you know, whenever you're playing scenes that like grief, like trauma, you're always aware that people have lived trauma, they've lived grief in maybe the same way your character has, or maybe a different way, but so many of us can connect with those emotions, and you feel that you want to do your best work because you want people to be able to connect with that and them to know that you put your all into it. And it was a very humbling experience to get to play those scenes, and I received a small amount of letters from survivors of sexual assault after those scenes aired. And I felt very humbled that people felt able to write to me. And one letter I referenced in my Golden Globe speech, when I said one lady had written and said she wasn't really sure why she'd written to me, but I suppose in some way she just wanted to be heard. And those words resonated with me and have stayed with me since. And I referenced that in my speech and said that I hope saying it so publicly meant she feels in some way she's been heard and that the world has heard her. And yeah, to be able to have that connection with someone you've never met, and with those small people you've never met, is an incredible thing, really.
Yeah, it's an honor, right?
A real honor.
Yeah.
A real honor. Yeah.
Tom.
I feel probably a scene that has always resonated with me around the storyline of Sybil's passing is when Maggie Smith's character, the Dowager Countess, comes in having learnt the news, and the hallway is empty except for her, and she falters slightly and holds onto a pillar and writes herself as the matriarch of this family to have the power and strength to go forward, because she knows that she has a duty and a role. And I think that sums up so much of what Downton is as a show. It's about finding that strength in moments of adversity, and also just a phenomenal performance by a truly, iconic actress. But the fact that she could emote in that way with the back of her head, and I know that's kind of sad, but if you watch it, you only see her back and her silhouette, and yet she encompasses everything with a small jet, and it's just a masterclass as an acting student, which I think we all end up always remaining in this profession. But it's just magical. But I also think it's summed up so much of what this show embodies.
And I have to tell you that the grand finale embodies all of those things and then some. As I said when I started out, this is a lovely film, and it's so heartwarming, and it makes you think. And it makes you think about the space that we're in now, which I know we didn't touch on a lot, but I think I keep telling people we have to look at history. If we were really looking at history, we would not be making these same mistakes that we're currently making. And so I hope that Downton will, of course, the grand finale will entertain folks, but I also pray that it will educate folks and inspire folks to do better, as the characters in the grand finale have all done. Because it's a wonderful ending, a happy ending. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this town hall.
Thank you.
Everyone go out and watch the film, buy your ticket, see it in the theater.
Thank you very much.
You do not want to cheat yourself by watching it on a little TV screen. It is out now. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much
Thank
for
you
having
very
me.
much. Thank you.